are very important. I hope you don't miss them out. So number one, don't you push your children to read. Why? Because they will read eventually. Today, just as the title, I'm going to explain to you in details how I have taught my kids to read by the age of 3. How do I do this? Nowadays, reading is no longer rocket science as it used to be when we were growing up. You know, most of us, when growing up, we were just taught, and it's like we just discovered how to read through a discovery method. And if you knew how to read using a discovery method, you must have been very smart. So, with the science of reading nowadays, within a period of 12 months, a child is reading. It's very effective, simple, and direct to the point. I have done it myself, and I really love the progress of what I'm seeing with my children. And I have only four steps. And the first one, very simple. The letter sounds. Children have a very short attention span. I believe you can agree to that. They get distracted so easily. So what I do is to keep it short and also to captivate their attention so that their little hands can be doing something as I lead them through. This is one of the things that I use for them to be pointing at these letter sounds. Okay, Wema, can we go through? Yes.
I hold it for myself.
No, let me hold for you. Let me hold for you, please. Okay, bring your feet here. Can I sit on top here? Okay, let's go through. All your letter sounds, and that is very good of you. Okay, before they mastered, right now all of them have mastered the sounds. Before they mastered, there were some of the sounds that are found which were a bit challenging for them. For example, for Wema, she really struggled with G and Ya. I think it's because of how they are formed, the letter formation. You see, all of them are dropping down, and G is closed, Ya is open. What I could just isolate and ask her, Wema, which sound is this?
G.
And which sound is this?
A.
Yeah, very good. And other sounds that I also isolated, which were very technical, was B and Da. And also, yes, these three, B, D, and Pa. Wema, tell me which sound is this? Which sound is this? Which sound is this? So those are some of the activities that we have been doing with these flashcards. There are many more. And when they have been conversant and they are good with this, I introduced something we call the digraphs. And what are digraphs? These digraphs, they are double letter sounds. And I also made them into flashcards so that, you know, when they both see and touch and say it becomes a more effective method of teaching, especially young children. They learn more through observation. observation through their senses, observing, touching, seeing, speaking it out, and so on. I have quite a number of digraphs, both the consonants and also the vowel. Yeah, have quite a number of the consonants here and the vowels also that makes the same sound. I have a list of these if you'd like to have them. I actually made another sheet. Yes, this one of words with the digraphs and the double letter sounds. It's not that we read through this daily, no, but this one we go through it daily because I want them to know the sounds, their sounds. So we go through this and you can see like ch. I have several words that are made from ch, chain, church. I'd read for them. I'd say ch and then say chain, church, children. Ask them, what is a church? What is a chain? Shoes. What are shoes? And I would ask them, what does shoes start with? And they would say, shoes. There. And so many other words that start with this, what we call them, the digraphs. After this letter sound session, we directly go to this other session of the digraphs. Digraphs are also very important when you are teaching how to read, because you'll find out that if you don't teach them the digraphs, when they come to the word there, it will be a problem because they will try to sound out and then they will stay for a very long time before they master the word there or the word that have digraphs with them, or a word like when. You see, because they produce one sound but they are two letters.
For a digraph.
Can we start with these ones?
No, for a digraph.
You don't want us to start? You want us to start with the digraphs? It's okay. This one. What? Very good. Next. Okay, read this one, Ediel.
Here is for a pipe.
Yes, it's like a pipe there. It has an opening. Okay. Okay, hit it here. Shh. Give me an example of what with phone. Photo. Knee, like the what? Any and many. And this one? Like step number 2 is blending of words. And blending is very important. Bringing these sounds together to make a word. It's a word formation process, blending. So every child must know how words are built. And this is what I'm calling blending. And what I do mostly is to introduce the consonant, vowel, consonant words. I know there are other forms of words, but for young kids, the best thing is to introduce the consonant, vowel, and the consonant words. And these are also called word families. And I have several cards that I have made with different word families. They are up to 16 word families. I know there are more than that. And I put them in a ring so that I do not lose them. So every day I'll remove one and give it to a child. And they will read the words, exercise blending, and also form the words using the letters that I made for them, and I actually made a video of how I made those letters. So they will take this, for example, it's the word family, add, and they will read b, add, 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 mad, and so on and so forth. So if a child can be able to read this word bad, they can automatically decode all the others. So if a child can be able to read bad, they can be able to read fad, they can be able to read dad, they can be able to read mad. Sometimes you will find out that the child is not hearing the sounds at the beginning, but it's okay, they are just learning. So what you have to do is to practice as much as they can so that they are able to hear the sounds that they are saying. And there are two types of blending, if I may say. We have the visual blending and we have the oral blending. And both types of blending are very important. The visual blending is where you have these words and they see them and they are able to identify that this is d and this is a and this is m. D, a, m, dam. They are able to identify that word and say it. Oral blending is where you don't necessarily have to have the words. And this is very interesting for me because I use it quite a lot because I can use it anywhere. When we are walking, when we are in the kitchen preparing lunch or dinner, I just ask a child because we are there with them, and I ask a child, what does the word man say? And they will say man, cat, cat. And I'll ask them words again and again. So if your child is having difficulty in blending, what do you do? And why? Why is that child having difficulty in blending? And there are several reasons as to why your child may be having difficulty in blending words. Number one, they may not have developed the phonological awareness properly. Maybe they are not able to sound out all the letters of the alphabet. Number two is that maybe you have not practiced enough. You have not done practice with them enough. You have not done the oral and the visual blending enough. So what do? Continue practicing, and eventually they will be able to hear those sounds and be able even to read the words. And number three, maybe you are not modeling enough. You know, children learn through observation. You have to show them what you're doing. You have to be a model for them. Like if you provide them with this card, you have first to demonstrate reading a certain word, for example, bag, bag. So if you model for them enough times, they are able to be able to read. what are sight words? Sight words, these are high-frequency words that appear in every given text or in every conversation. There are some words that you use them more frequently than the others. So these are the sight words. And some of these sight words, they do not necessarily follow the phonological rules or the phonetic rules, meaning that you cannot be able to sound them out. Simple. You cannot just be able to sound them out. So if you're not able to sound them out, then how can a child be able to read some of these words that cannot be sounded out? Simple. Memorize the ones that can't be sounded out. Just memorize, memorize, memorize. How do you memorize? You can create a chart for sight words like this one that I have made, and also you can make flashcards of sight words. Flashcards, they are very effective. I found flashcards being a very effective method of teaching, especially the young children. So I have a list of sight words. Some of them, they are very short. You can be able to actually sound them out, like an, no, so, on, or, off. All of this, you can sound them out. Is, in, it, my, up, to, do. You can sound them out, but here too, we read it as o. So to, do, but it's not do. So they have to memorize to and do. He, normally if we are sounding it out, we would say he, but it's not he, it's he. So what do? They just you just teach them, and then they memorize, like he, she, me, we, be, by, my, they, this. All these, I believe they can be able to sound them out. The one they cannot be able to sound out, you just memorize. Like for example, a word out. For heaven's sake, how do you sound out a word out or hour? It becomes very hard. But through memorization, it becomes very easy and very effective. The last is the magic E, or the bossy E. It's also called the silent E. Why? Because the E is normally silent. For example, this is how I do it. My child can be able to read this first word, can. So I read for them the other one that has the magic E, which is cane. They can be able to read this word, tap. Eddie, can you read this word, tap? And this with the magic E, we read it, tape. Read this one, pin, pine. Read this one. They can be able to read kids, and then I read the kite, and so on and so forth. Within no time, they are able to read the words with the magic E. So guys, this is how I have taught my children to read by the age of 3. So number 1, what I did is the letter sounds and the diagrams. That is the first one, the letter sounds and the diagrams. Number two is blending. And we blend the CBC words, the consonant, vowel, consonant blends. Number 3 is the sight words, where we just memorize the ones that are not decodable. And number 4, the bossy E, or the silent E, where they can read the first that doesn't have the bossy E, and I read the one that has the bossy E, so that they can be able to hear the E that is silent and how it transforms that vowel that is in between the consonants. For example, as they read can, the word can, the E is silent, but it changes the sound of the vowel that is in between the consonants. Something else that I do, I allow them to read as much as they can, to practice reading. And another thing is that I just read for them. I read for them as much as I can. There's that a read aloud session where I read them the Bible stories every day. Before I conclude this session, there's something that is very important that I want each and every parent and caregiver to note. And these points are very important. I hope you don't miss them out. So number one, don't you push your children to read. Why? Because they will read eventually. They'll just read eventually. Don't push them. And number two, and very important, make it fun and interactive. I use several activities to teach the same concept. I make it kid-friendly because when you involve all their senses in learning, then learning becomes more effective. Number three, and very important also, go at the pace of your child. Every child learns in a unique way. Every child is different. Accept their differences. So I want to appreciate you so much for following this video until the end. And kindly, if you found it helpful, hit that subscription box below. Subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. And in case of any query, any comment, feel free to comment in the comment section below. And I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And again, I say thank you so much. And Baraka Tele. God bless you.